everyone and welcome back to my channel. I have bought a lot of new books, so many books so that I actually have to split this book haul up into two parts. And obviously the first part is the one you get today. First book I got is a book that will speak to my adventurous heart, I believe, and that is Sugar Money by Jane Harris. This is about a bunch of boys, as far as I remember, who end up on this island. But I could be completely mistaken. It's about a journey, it's about, I don't know, it's set in Martinique in 1765. I don't recall exactly what happens to these characters, but I really want to read it, and this cover looks absolutely gorgeous. This is going to be my first read by Jane Harris, and I actually got another book of hers, which I might just show you right away, and that is this one, Jill's Pie and I, which is more of a historical fiction. Well, the other one was as well, but this one is set in Bloomsbury, and it's about a friendship of some kind, so I think it's more about grown-ups. But once again, I could be completely mistaken. I have been interested to read books by Jane Harris, so I bought two of hers and I'm very excited to read them and compare them and hopefully really like them. Next is a non-fiction book which I've already read and absolutely loved. This is one of my favorite books of the year so far, The Diary of a Bookseller by Jeanbookishthoughts. And it says from the title what this is about. It's the diary of a bookseller. You would think that being a bookseller, working with books, is the perfect job. But this book also comes with a lot of revelations about the backside of this job. It's not always easy to juggle all of these books, and especially the customers have some hilarious comments and questions which were so interesting to read. All in all, this book gives you a rare insight into the backstage of a bookseller, and it was phenomenal. It really was. This cover as well is one of my favorites off my shelves at the moment. Then I have a very popular book. This is Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. I've been very intrigued to read it for many months now. It's very short. I was surprised when I received it. I thought it would be a chunker of a book, but I don't know why I thought that. I have tried checking this out from the library multiple times, but it's been on hold for so long that now I just decided to get it. So this is about two boys, I believe, and it's, I don't know, is it based on, well, it's a love story, but it's also based on society and the problems with, I don't know, immigration? I'm not sure. I really don't recall too much of it, once again, but it's one that I really wanted to read, and I'm sure lots of you have already read it, so don't spoil it, but hopefully it's one that you liked and that I will like as well. However, the next one I can't tell you what it's about because I've already read it, and you will hear more about my thoughts on it in my upcoming reading vlog, and that is Tin Man by Sarah Winman. That rhymes. I find that so hilarious for some reason. This is a love story between two men, but there is also a woman involved, and it's a very sad story to begin with because we encounter the protagonist when he's very lonesome and when he has to find his way in life after things have happened, which I'm not going to go into, but it's got a very sincere tone of voice, this book, and it was a surprise to me. That's all I'm going to say. But another one of those tiny books that has quite an impact. So I've decided to continue my journey of reading Lee Meacham's books. So I here have two of her books, which are Titans as well as Tumbleweeds. You might recall that I have read her other books, Somerset and Roses. Let me just get them. I have previously read these two and I like them. I mean, they are pretty silly. It's historical fiction based on very bad decisions from the characters, but it works once you ignore those bad decisions. And I like reading about America back in the days, and farms and people and everyday life. That's my thing. So I'm going to save these for spring and summer when I'm in the mood for a light read that's also very entertaining. The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by Carson McCullers. It's a classic, and it's one that I've been meaning to read for many years now. I finally got it and I'm super excited to read it. This was actually his first novel, and I haven't read anything of his so far, so I guess this is a great way to start. But I think it's a love story. I think it's about coming of age, a young girl. I'm not too sure. You know that I like not going too much into details with my books before I read them. I like to be surprised myself, but I do know I want to read this, and this cover also kind of screams summer to me, so I might wait with it until spring, summer. The Wicked Cometh by Laura Carlin. Now this is a beautiful hardback, and the spine I especially like. It's about witches, which I'm not very familiar with, but I remember Jean from Jeanbookishthoughts talking about it, praising it, and I wanted to get it for myself and read it. So even though it's about witches, I do like to sometimes branch out and read something very different from what I normally read, and it's been some time since I last read about witches, so hopefully this is going to be a pleasant surprise. And then we have a cover by, I am talking about The Toy Makers by Robert Dinsdale. First of all, let's take a moment to appreciate this gorgeous cover. When I read the synopsis of this book, I was kind of reminded of The Night Circus by someone. I will put a picture of it up here. I don't think I own that book anymore, but it's got that fairy tale circus-like feel to it. This is about some boys who encounter this, I don't know if it's a store that creates toys, I think it is, and this store only appears on a certain point of time every year, so it's kind of magical. And then I believe the protagonist gets to work with these toys. I might be completely mistaken, but I don't know. This is one of those books that I had to have because of the cover. It's not one on the top of my reading list, so it might be saved for, I don't know, fall or winter when I'm in the mood for a magical read. But for now, I'm just going to appreciate this cover and probably stare at it for hours. And the next one is a recent release, and that is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. Kristen Hanna is the author of The Nightingale, which is a very beloved book. I haven't read that one, mostly because it's about World War II, and I've tried to steer clear of those books because I don't really want to read any more about World War II, at least for the moment. But this one I really want to read because this one is set in Alaska, and I believe this is the one about a family who is forced to move to Alaska, yes. And then it's about starting a new life there. I think it's told from the father's perspective. I just really want to read about the landscape of Alaska for some reason, and I really want to read a book by Kristen Hanna and see if I agree with her books as well. Now this cover is so gorgeous. This is The Immortalists by Chloe Benjamin, which is another pretty recent release about some people who are immortal. I think it's got to do with the fact that they are told when they're going to die, and for that reason they know something that the rest of us don't about our lives. And then it's about how they live and how they deal with this truth of theirs, this life of theirs. I don't know too much, but it was enough to intrigue me. I thought that sounded interesting, and I really like this cover. And it's also received a lot of praise from around the world, from a lot of people, so why not buy it? Satri, I don't know exactly how to pronounce this, but it is by Cormac McCarthy, another author I haven't read anything by yet. First of all, I'm a bit puzzled about this cover. It's the first time I've ever seen a cover covered with letters. I don't know if this works or not, I can't really figure out. But anyway, this is a classic, and it's about a man who lives on a boat, and that's all I know. But once again, when I read about it some weeks ago now, it sounded intriguing enough for me, and I did want to read something by this author. This is a classic, and it's supposed to be quite deep and quite thought-provoking, so I'm interested to read it. But I'm definitely puzzled about this cover. This cover is more to my liking, and that is The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake by Amy Bender. This book I have read, and it's about our main character who is 8 years old when we meet her. She sits in the kitchen with her mother, who is baking her a birthday cake for her 9th birthday, which is a lemon cake. When our main character tastes the cake, she all of a sudden knows everything about her mother's feelings because she has baked the cake, and it turns out this doesn't just go for this cake, it's about all food that she eats. Whoever has cooked that food or baked that cake, she knows what they are feeling, and that's very peculiar. It actually follows our main character until she's in her 20s, so it covers a lot of years, and it covers her struggles with this new experience of hers, which is not very easy to deal with. It's another one of those pretty short books, but it covers a lot of things and a lot of years in this main character's life. What is she called? It bugs me that I don't remember. She is called Rose. Then I have a book that I've also read, but which I stumbled across in the Diary of a Bookseller book, which I showed you earlier. This is Parara Maintains by Antonio Tabucchi. It's set in Lisbon in 1938. It's a classic, and it's one that not a lot of people know about, but it's really, really interesting. It's about this main character who is a journalist. He's overweight and he's a widower. He one day encounters a young boy who ends up turning his life around. It's a very political novel, but it's also about self-discovery and how we can change our life's direction even though we are a bit older and we feel like everything we feel and everything we do is pretty set. That's not always the case. It's a very short book, and it's one that I definitely do recommend, but more about that in my reading vlog. Then I have here another gorgeous novel, and that is The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock by Imogen Hermes Gower. This is another one of those books that is quite out of my comfort zone because it's about mermaids, and it's been so many years since I last read about mermaids, but I'm intrigued to read it because it's been coming up in a lot of people's videos. People love it. I want to read it. That's normally what happens when a book is hyped. So here we have it, and once again, may I point out this gorgeous spine. And also, basically, this book is just gorgeous. Last but not least, I have two books which my mother had found in her attic, I believe, which belong to me, but which I haven't had in my collection for some reason. Since I moved out, some books have stayed with my parents. Le Petit Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, which is a French book, and this is actually in French. I got this when I was 13 and starting to learn French. I tried reading it back then, but it was a little bit difficult, so I'm interested now to finally read this very well-loved classic. I haven't read it yet, even though I'm now 30 and I am a French teacher, so it's about time I do so, and I do like this very gorgeous edition. And then we have some Shakespeare. My mother had this beautiful collection of Shakespeare's plays. This is actually an Oxford edition, and I do own his collection, but my edition is very, very old. It's just a beautiful edition. Obviously, the font is tiny, but I mean, he has a lot of plays out, and they have to fit in the book. So I wonder, it just says the works of Shakespeare. I wonder if it's also got the sonnets. Okay, so it's got the poems, it's got the sonnets as well, and it's got his plays. So basically this is a complete collection of his works. And that is it for this first part of my book haul. So as you can guess, I have bought a lot of books for myself these past weeks, and that is just amazing. I think you can look out for my second part of the book haul in April, but until then, have a great day and happy reading.